What happened when a white cop came across a simple-looking, black-skinned young man and decided to make fun of him, but he did not know that he was a skilled undercover lawyer. But what happened was completely unexpected and surprised everyone. Read the story to find out what happened in detail. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell button to receive all our new content. We hope you enjoy watching. The rain fell in sheets over downtown Chicago, turning the sidewalks into mirrors that reflected the neon glow of storefronts. Malik Johnson pulled the hood of his worn-out jacket tighter around his face, his breath visible in the cold air. To anyone passing by, he was just another black man trying to stay dry, unremarkable, invisible. But beneath that frayed fabric was a mind sharp enough to dissect legal statutes like a surgeon's scalpel. Malik was a ghost in the system, a brilliant ghost. By day, he worked pro bono cases under a pseudonym, MJ, known only to a handful of trusted colleagues. By night, he was a shadow in his own community, gathering evidence against corrupt cops and rigged policies. His clients, the voiceless, his weapon, the law. He slid into a booth at Eddie's Grill, a greasy spoon frequented by cops and construction workers. The air smelled of burnt coffee and bacon. Malik kept his head down, scribbling notes on a wrongful arrest case when the bell above the door jangled. Enter Officer Daniel Riggs. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a buzz cut and a swagger that screamed untouchable. Riggs smirked at the hostess, his polished badge catching the light. Then his gaze landed on Malik. This seat taken? Riggs didn't wait for an answer, sliding into the opposite bench. His eyes flicked over Malik's thrift store clothes, the chipped phone on the table. You waiting for someone, or? Malik kept his voice neutral. Just eating. Riggs chuckled, turning to the waitress. Double stack, extra bacon, and keep the coffee coming. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. You know, this neighborhood's gotten rough. Folks like you ought to be careful. Folks like me? Malik sipped his water. You know what I mean. Riggs's smile didn't reach his eyes. Lot of crime these days. Wouldn't want you getting mistaken for someone else. The threat hung in the air. Malik's fingers tightened around his pen. I'll keep that in mind, officer. Riggs's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then stood abruptly. Duty calls. Enjoy your meal. He tossed a 20 on the table, a performative gesture, and strode out, his boots leaving wet prints on the tile. The diner exhaled. Malik didn't. 2 days later, Malik was reviewing security footage for a client when his burner phone rang. Jay, it's me. The voice was frantic. Darius, a teen he'd kept out of jail last year. They got me. Riggs planted a bag in my car. I'm at the 12th precinct. The line went dead. Malik was out the door before the dial tone faded. The precinct was a zoo. Cuffed kids lined the benches, their faces hollow with fear. Malik spotted Darius in interrogation room 3, Riggs looming over him like a vulture. Counsel for the minor, Malik announced, flashing his bar card, under MJ, before the desk sergeant could stop him. Riggs spun around. His confusion morphed into recognition, then disgust. You? You're a lawyer? Malik ignored him, nodding at Darius. You okay? Darius's lip trembled. I didn't do it, man. Save it, Riggs snapped. Kid had a kilo in his trunk, open and shut. Malik eyed the evidence bag on the table, a Ziploc stuffed with white powder. Too neat, too convenient. Officer Riggs, Malik said softly, you forgot something. Oh yeah? What's that? Malik tapped the bag. Chain of custody. Where's your body cam footage? Riggs paled. Malik's laptop was already open, syncing to a cloud drive. See, I've got a hobby, collecting public records, like this parking lot security feed from Eddie's Grill 2 nights ago. The screen played Riggs slipping a similar bag into his own squad car. Silence. Riggs lunged. "You little!" But Malik was already stepping back, cops freezing mid-reach. "Assaulting counsel? That's a felony," Malik said. "But let's talk about obstruction of justice first." Darius gasped. Riggs's face twisted. Then, the precinct captain stormed in. "What the hell is going on?" Malik smiled. "Glad you asked, Captain. I'm about to file a motion to dismiss and a misconduct complaint." Riggs's career flashed before his eyes. As Malik led Darius out, Riggs grabbed his arm, hissing, "This isn't over. You're dead, Jay." Malik didn't flinch. "Looking forward to discovery, officer." Outside, the rain had stopped. But the storm? It was just beginning. The morning sun struggled to pierce through the grimy windows of Malik's tiny apartment, casting long shadows across case files strewn about his kitchen table. His fingers drummed an uneven rhythm against a coffee mug gone cold hours ago. The message from his colleague Lydia blinked ominously on his phone screen. "Riggs is making moves. Watch your back." A sharp knock at the door shattered the silence. Malik's body tensed, his hand instinctively reaching for the baseball bat leaning against the fridge. Through the peephole, he saw 2 uniformed officers, neither of them Riggs, but both wearing that familiar swagger. "Open up!" Chicago PD. The doorframe shuddered under their pounding. Malik's mind raced through possibilities. They wouldn't come personally unless... Then he saw it. Through the thin gap in his curtains, a news van idled across the street. The pieces clicked together with terrible clarity. They weren't here to arrest him. They were here to manufacture a spectacle. Malik grabbed his burner phone and the encrypted hard drive from beneath a floorboard, slipping them into the hidden pocket of his jacket, just as the door burst open. "Malik Johnson? You're under arrest for possession with intent to distribute." The taller cop held up a clear evidence bag containing a brick of heroin. "We have a warrant." Malik's sharp laugh cut through the tension. "Let me guess. Found in the trunk of a '95 Honda Civic, registered to Darius Wright." The officers exchanged glances. The shorter one recovered first. "You can joke all you want at the station." As they cuffed him, Malik caught the glint of a body cam conspicuously turned off. Outside, camera flashes erupted like gunfire as they paraded him past the news crew. A reporter shouted questions about the drug lawyer finally getting his due. The ride to the station was silent, except for the crackle of the police radio. Malik memorized every turn, every bump in the road. When they passed Eddie's Grill, his stomach clenched. Riggs's revenge was unfolding with military precision. Processing took twice as long as usual. They photographed his tattoos, took his fingerprints 3 separate times. The desk sergeant accidentally spilled coffee on his shirt. Standard intimidation tactics, but Malik noted each violation with a lawyer's precision. Then came the interrogation room. The fluorescent light buzzed like an angry hornet. Riggs entered last, tossing a thick file on the metal table with a satisfying thud. "Surprised to see me, counselor?" Riggs's grin showed too many teeth. "Funny how the tables turn." Malik studied the mirrored wall behind Riggs. At least 3 people watching, maybe more. "You really went all out. Heroin? A little cliché, don't you think?" Riggs leaned in close enough for Malik to smell the spearmint gum-masking bourbon breath. "Here's what's going to happen. You plead guilty. I make sure you only do 5 years. You fight this." He tapped the file. "I've got 3 witnesses ready to swear they bought from you." Malik's pulse jumped, but his voice remained steady. "Witnesses you paid. Witnesses the jury will believe." Riggs produced a photo. Malik leaving a known trap house last month. Funny thing about surveillance cameras, they only show what people want them to show. The trap was elegant, Malik had to admit. A perfect recreation of his own tactics turned against him. Then Riggs made his mistake. He slid a plea agreement across the table. Malik scanned it quickly, spotting the flaw immediately. The listed arrest location was his apartment, but the warrant specified 221B Elm Street. A simple clerical error to anyone else. To a lawyer? Perjury. Fraud upon the court. Malik kept his face carefully blank as he pretended to consider the deal. "I'll need to speak with my attorney." Riggs's triumphant smile made Malik want to vomit. "Of course, though I hear the public defender's office is swamped this week." As they led him to the holding cell, Malik caught his reflection in the security cameras. The man staring back wasn't a frightened defendant. He was a predator who'd just spotted the weak link in the hunt. The clank of shackles echoed through the courthouse basement as Malik shuffled toward the elevator. His orange jumpsuit smelled of industrial detergent and sweat, the coarse fabric scratching against his skin. Above him, the old building groaned like a living thing, pipes rattling, floorboards creaking under the weight of decades of desperate footsteps. A guard shoved him forward. "Move it, hotshot! Your fans are waiting." The elevator doors opened to chaos. Reporters packed the hallway, cameras flashing like strobe lights. Malik kept his head down, but not before catching sight of the day's newspaper headline. "Lawyer turned drug dealer faces judge." Riggs had been busy. The courtroom doors swung open with a dramatic whoosh. Malik's breath caught. Every seat was occupied. In the front row, Darius sat clutching his mother's hand, his face a mask of teenage bravado, barely concealing terror. To the left, a contingent of cops in dress uniforms, Riggs' cheering section. And in the back, nearly invisible in the shadows, Lydia clutched a thick manila envelope to her chest, giving him an almost imperceptible nod. The bailiff's voice boomed, "All rise for the Honorable Judge Evelyn Carter." The judge entered with the quiet authority of a woman who'd seen every trick in the book. Her sharp eyes took in Malik's shackles, the overzealous prosecution table, the conspicuously empty defense chair. "Mr. Johnson," she said, peering over her glasses, "I see you're without counsel." Malik stood slowly, the chains between his ankles clinking. "Your Honor, if it pleases the court, I'd like to represent myself." A murmur rippled through the gallery. Riggs smirked at his colleagues. Judge Carter's pen hovered over her docket. "You understand the risks?" "Yes, Your Honor. But as a member of the bar, I'm confident." "Confident?" The prosecutor, a slick-haired bulldog named Walsh, practically leapt from his seat. "Your Honor, the defendant is attempting to turn these proceedings into a circus." Malik didn't flinch. If opposing counsel is afraid of a fair fight, perhaps he should reconsider his case. Judge Carter's gavel cracked like a gunshot. "Enough. Mr. Johnson, your request is granted. But step out of line once, and I'll have you gagged. Understood?" The trial began with Walsh's opening statement, a masterpiece of character assassination. Malik, he claimed, had been running drugs for years, using his legal knowledge to evade detection. The evidence? The heroin found in Malik's apartment, the credible witnesses, and, of course, his convenient connection to known offenders like Darius. When it was Malik's turn, He limped to the lectern, chains dragging. The gallery leaned forward. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," he began, voice soft but carrying to every corner, "what you're about to witness isn't justice. It's theater." He gestured to his shackles. "They want you to see a criminal. But ask yourselves, when did I become dangerous? Was it when I exposed police misconduct?" A pause. "Or when I embarrassed the wrong people?" Walsh objected. The judge overruled. The prosecution's first witness was Officer Tannen, Riggs's partner. Under Walsh's coaching, he described finding the drugs with rehearsed precision. Malik approached for cross-examination, the chains forcing him into an awkward shuffle. "Officer, you testified the drugs were in my nightstand?" "Correct." "Curious." Malik nodded to Lydia, who handed the bailiff a document. "This is the evidence log. It lists the drugs as being found in my kitchen." Tannen shifted in his seat. "Must be a typo." "Is it also a typo that the warrant specifies 221B Elm Street?" Malik produced another paper. "I live at 221A." The gallery erupted. Judge Carter's gavel came down hard. Walsh jumped up. "Your Honor, this is perjury?" Malik finished. "Yes, it is." He turned back to Tannen. "Officer, who prepared the warrant?" Tannen's eyes flicked to Riggs. "I don't recall." Malik limped to the evidence table, holding up the brick of heroin. "This is the proof of my guilt. But heroin has a distinct chemical signature. It can be traced to specific batches." He looked pointedly at Riggs. "I move to have this tested against evidence from other open cases." Riggs's pen snapped in his hand. Judge Carter's eyes narrowed. "Motion granted. We'll recess until—" "One more thing, Your Honor." Malik's voice dropped. "The prosecution forgot to disclose they have surveillance footage from my building." Walsh paled. "There is no—" "Exactly." Malik turned to the jury. "No footage. No chain of custody. Just 3 cops' word against mine." He let that sink in. "Now ask yourselves, who's really on trial here?" As the judge called the recess, Malik caught the moment Riggs realized his mistake. The evidence was tainted. The warrant was fraudulent. And Malik? He was just getting started. The courthouse hummed with tension as Malik re-entered the courtroom after recess. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry wasps, casting harsh shadows across the jurors' faces. He caught snippets of hushed conversations. Planted evidence. Riggs is finished. Before the bailiff's sharp command silenced the room, Judge Carter took her seat with deliberate slowness, her steely gaze sweeping across the courtroom. "Before we proceed, I've reviewed the defense's motion regarding the chain of custody." She adjusted her glasses, the pause stretching just long enough to make Walsh sweat. "The discrepancies are troubling." A murmur rippled through the gallery. Riggs sat rigid in the front row, his knuckles white around the edge of the prosecution table. Malik rose, the shackles at his ankles clinking softly. "Your Honor, I'd like to recall Officer Tannen for additional questioning." Walsh shot up. "Objection! The defense is harassing." Overruled. The judge's voice cut like a blade. "But tread carefully, Mr. Johnson." Tannen took the stand, his uniform suddenly seeming too large on his frame. Malik approached slowly, letting the silence stretch. "Officer, earlier you claimed the drugs were found in my nightstand, yet the evidence log states otherwise." Malik held up a document. "This is your signed affidavit from the arrest. Care to explain?" Tannen's throat worked. "I must have misremembered." "Misremembered?" Malik arched a brow. "Or were you instructed to lie?" "Objection!" Walsh barked. Malik didn't wait for the judge's ruling. "Withdrawn. Let's discuss the warrant instead." He produced another file. This GPS data from your patrol car shows you were at 221B Elm Street 20 minutes before obtaining the warrant for 221A. Why? The blood drained from Tannen's face. A juror gasped. Judge Carter leaned forward. Answer the question, officer. We... Tannen's eyes darted to Riggs, who gave an almost imperceptible shake of his head. We had probable cause. Malik moved in for the kill. From this? He clicked a remote, and the courtroom monitor lit up with security footage from Eddie's grill, Riggs slipping a package into his own squad car. Your probable cause seems to have come from your own pocket. Chaos erupted. The judge's gavel came down like thunder. Order! Order in this court! In the commotion, Malik caught Lydia slipping out the back door, right on schedule. When silence finally fell, Judge Carter's voice was dangerously calm. Officer Tannen, you are hereby relieved of duty pending an investigation. Bailiff, escort him out. As Tannen was led away, Malik turned to Walsh. Your case is built on lies. Every piece of evidence, every witness statement, all tainted by Riggs's vendetta. Walsh opened his mouth to object, but the judge cut him off. Mr. Walsh, approach the bench. The whispered conference lasted less than a minute. When Walsh returned, he looked like a man who'd aged 10 years. The prosecution moves to dismiss all charges. The gallery exploded. Reporters scrambled for the exits. Riggs surged to his feet, face purple with rage. This is bullshit! Judge Carter fixed him with a glare that could freeze hell. One more word, officer, and you'll join your partner in custody. As the bailiff removed Malik's shackles, Darius leapt from his seat, eyes shining. But Malik's gaze was locked on Riggs, now surrounded by internal affairs officers. Their eyes met across the chaos. This wasn't over. The rain fell in biblical torrents as Malik stepped out of the courthouse, the weight of his victory sitting strangely on his shoulders. Flashbulbs popped like distant lightning, reporters shouting questions that blended into white noise. He barely felt Lydia's hand on his arm or heard her relieved sigh. His eyes scanned the crowd for Darius, the kid who'd started it all. Darius wasn't there. A text buzzed in his pocket. Got something you want? Come alone. 5th and Hudson, 30 minutes. Attached was a photo of Darius's school ID, smeared with blood. The abandoned courthouse at 5th and Hudson loomed like a rotten tooth against the stormy sky. Malik pushed through the broken doors, the scent of mildew and decay thick in the air. Water dripped through the collapsed ceiling, the drops echoing like a ticking clock. Riggs! His voice bounced off marble walls where justice had once been served. You wanted me? Here I am. A flashlight beam cut through the darkness, illuminating Riggs in the old witness box. The once polished officer looked feral, unshaven, uniform wrinkled, service weapon dangling carelessly from his fingers. At his feet, Darius lay unconscious but breathing, his wrists bound with police zip ties. Took you long enough, Riggs sneered. Thought you lawyers were all about punctuality. Malik kept his hands visible, stepping carefully over broken tiles. The DA's offering you a deal right now. Life instead of lethal injection. Walk away. Riggs barked a laugh. Walk away? After you destroyed my career? My life? He gestured wildly with the gun. You people always think you can take whatever you... I didn't take anything, Malik interrupted, voice steady. You lost it the moment you judged Darius by his hoodie instead of his character. The moment you assumed my worth based on my skin rather than my mind. A rat skittered through the debris. Somewhere above, a loose shutter banged in the wind. Riggs's finger twitched on the trigger. You don't get to lecture me. I'm not. Malik took another step forward. I'm giving you the same choice you never gave us. Look past what you think you see. He nodded to Darius. That's not a thug. He's an honors student with a 3.8 GPA. And me? He spread his arms. Not just some black man in cuffs. A man who believed in justice enough to wear its robes. For a heartbeat, Riggs wavered. Then his face hardened. Pretty speech. Too bad. Sirens wailed in the distance, closer than Malik had expected. Riggs's head snapped toward the sound. Malik lunged. They crashed to the floor in a tangle of limbs, the gun skittering away. Riggs landed a brutal elbow to Malik's ribs, but Malik twisted, using Riggs's momentum to flip him onto his back. Years of late-night gym sessions versus police academy training, grunt versus technique. You'll never win, Riggs gasped as Malik pinned him. Malik leaned close. Already did. The moment I refused to become what you assumed I was. Red and blue lights flooded the broken windows. Boots pounded up the steps. As SWAT burst in, Malik was already freeing Darius, whispering reassurances. Riggs lay motionless, not resisting arrest, his gaze locked on the courthouse's crumbling mural of Lady Justice. Her scales still balanced after all these years. 3 months later. The morning sun painted gold across the new community center's sign. The Darius Wright Legal Clinic. Malik adjusted his tie. Proper silk today, no more thrift store disguises, as the crowd applauded. Darius, now sporting a Harvard Law hoodie, bumped his shoulder. Still think we should have named it after you. Malik shook his head, watching a group of kids from the projects peppering Lydia with questions about law school. This was never about me. A reporter approached, her cameraman in tow. Mr. Johnson, after Riggs's conviction, what's next for justice? Malik interrupted gently. The kind that sees people as they are, not as we assume them to be. He turned back to the clinic, where a white cop was helping a black teen fill out forms. Starting today. As the ribbon fell, Malik finally felt the weight lift. The system hadn't changed, but someone had, and that was enough. Moral themes. Explored. 1. Judging by character, not appearance. Riggs's downfall came from assumptions about Malik Darius based on race and attire. 2. Merit over stereotypes. Malik's legal brilliance triumphs over prejudice. 3. Redemptive justice. The clinic represents systemic change rather than vengeance for. The danger of single stories. How Riggs's narrow worldview destroyed him. 5. Quiet integrity. Malik's refusal to compromise his principles even when shackled. Finally, don't forget to like a video and subscribe the channel.